Now for the candidates for the judge of the Orphans Court, we have Albert Babcock, Deborah Curtis, we have Bill Mattingly, and Julie Randall. Now we will have each candidate give their opening remarks. We're going to start here with Mr. Babcock.
Okay, that's good. I'd like to thank everybody for staying. First of all, it's been a long night. I'm Allie Babcock. I picked up Allie, it's a nickname in high school, and it kind of stuck. I'm born and raised in St. Mary's County. Graduated from Great Mills High School in 1973. I'm sitting back in the corner trying to figure out how I'm going to stick 64 years into 3 minutes of talking. But make it quick. After I got out of high school, I joined the Air Force and was a Vietnam era vet in the Air Force. They pretty much sent me mostly to Southeast Asia area. I came back here, joined the Sheriff's Department in 1980. I was Deputy Sheriff from 1980 to 1984. From there, I went back to civil service and became a federal employee again. Did 12 years in the fire department on base, left the fire department and went into the safety office and did another 12 years in the safety office. And shortly thereafter, I retired. And I'm just as busy as I can ever be. And if you get a chance to retire, do it, because you're going to be more busy than you ever have been at work. I'm married. My wife's name is Holly. There's 4 kids between us. I've got a daughter that lives on the Eastern Shore. I've got a stepson that lives in Texas. I've got a stepdaughter that lives in California. And my son is Jason Babcock, and he used to write for the Enterprise. And now he is the Public Information Officer for the Sheriff's Department. So, otherwise, when he worked for the Enterprise, one of my goals was probably going to run for the county commissioner position one day. But that was his beat, so I had to find something else to do. So during that time frame, I decided to go ahead and I got tapped to be the chairman of the St. Mary's County Liquor Board. And I did that for 4 years, and then went back out and kind of took it easy for a couple of years, and I decided to go ahead and find something else that I could think I would be good at. And the judge of the Orphans Court came to mind, and 4 years ago, the citizens of St. Mary's County were kind enough to vote me in as one of the judges of the Orphans Court. So I am currently seeking re-election, and I would appreciate your vote on November the 6th. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Curtis.
Good evening, everyone, and I want to thank everyone for staying also. I want to thank the women voters, the NAACP, and St. Mary's Public Library for this wonderful facility and this evening tonight. I was born in the state of Maryland, but I was not raised in St. Mary's County. I was raised in southern Prince George's County, and I moved here in 1998 when my husband got a job with the county government. I immediately got a job with the school system and worked as a full-time, part-time substitute teacher in the middle schools for the next few years. I loved every moment, every minute of it. I graduated from Charles County Community College, but the following year it was CSM with a degree in secondary education, and believed I would end up being a full-time teacher. But life kind of shifts, and I got my bachelor's degree in history from St. Mary's College in 2013. So old folks can still do it. I am a mother, a wife, a grandmother, and a daughter. I love being here in St. Mary's County. I came here having been a banker and became a court-appointed special advocate here in the county. I also was a paralegal specialist for the government. I have learned how the court system works in the real world. And I think timing has everything to do with where you are in your place in life. And I decided this was a really good time for me to get back into the court system and to work in an area where I have some knowledge and expertise and I have a background. As you know, and most of you probably know very well, that oh, I'm sorry, that made me nervous. That the judge of the Orphans Court is a probate court, and you preside over wills and estates for the citizens. And I look forward to being with you and serve the citizens of St. Mary's County as a judge. Thank you all.
Mr. Mattingly.
Good evening. My name is Bill Mattingly, born and raised there in Chaptico, here in St. Mary's County. Proud of it. Been married to Patty for 41 years. Lucky girl she is. And I have 4 children. All are here except, well, I have one in Alexandria and one in Atlanta, Georgia, but the other 2 are here. And I have 6 of the most gorgeous grandchildren you will ever see in your life. My life has been all about giving back to the community. I was a police officer for 10 years, so I was in and out of the court system a lot. I was a district court commissioner for about 4 years, so I was involved with the court system there. And I ran for the school board 2 terms, 8 years total. My last 3 years as chairman. It was very rewarding to, again, to be able to give back to my community. I'm in so many organizations, the Optimist Club, of course, which gives back. I'm the Grand Knight of the Knights of Columbus in Chaptico and Our Lady of the Wayside. But I just enjoy, I had 4 years experience on the court before, so I've been a judge before. What's it all about? Yes, it's about wills and estates, but what it's really about is helping people get through a really tough time. Sometimes we have to make decisions that are tough, but as long as you keep in mind to be fair and treat people with respect and do the right thing for the right reasons, you'll do fine. And that's been my motto from day one in everything that I've done, and especially on Judge of the Orphans Court. You know, many times we have people come before us, and you know, the families and some of these St. Mary's County families can get quite large, and you know, if there's a will, things go much smoother, that's for sure. But if there's not, then we have to sometimes make hard decisions, because we had a family of 11 one time, and they just couldn't get along, couldn't figure it out. And what we do, we worked together, the 3 judges, and we said, all right, look, we're going to take a little break here, and you guys are going to go into the law library, and you're going to figure this out, because if you don't, then unfortunately we have to do it, and we may not do what you want. And they did, and it worked. So that's what it's all about. It's about common sense and doing your homework, because when you read these wills and estates, everyone is different, and they can get quite involved. So it's not only when we go to court that day, it's when we go home and we do our homework and our research, and we get there and we know what's about to happen, what's about to come before us. So I hope that you will consider me to give me your vote. I would love again to serve as a judge of the Orphan Court for St. Mary's County. Thank you.
Good evening. It's great to be with all of you that are left. And thanks to the League of Women Voters, the NAA, and of course know they all contribute significantly to public service in our county, and they're to be commended. I'm Julie Randall, candidate for judge of the Orphans Court, and I'm a candidate for a couple of reasons. First, as a community volunteer for over 35 years, I believe this role is one I could ably do and continue to give back to our community. Second, I believe our judges should be diverse and representative of their constituents. A St. Mary's County resident for 40 years, I'm married to Bob Randall, and we have 3 grown daughters and 2 grandsons. Our youngest daughter, Mary, resides with us in Lexington Park. I was employed at a local defense contractor, KBR Wiley, for most of my professional career and recently retired. At Wiley, I was responsible for contracts totaling $50 million a year and over 100 employees. I've been a lifelong advocate of people with disabilities, and I've served as the chairman of the Commission for Disabilities, the president of the Southern Maryland Center for Independent Living, and member of several other disabilities organizations. Additional community service for me includes president of the St. Mary's County Board of Commissioners, president of the St. Mary's County School Board, and the charity director for the Lexington Park Rotary and treasurer of Walden Sierra. The Orphans Court judge is a lay judge, and it requires no specific legal experience. Judges preside over estate probate issues, the vast majority of which are straightforward and non-controversial. Where issues do arise, however, diligent, informed, legally compliant, compassionate, and fair-minded decisions need to be made, recognizing the families involved are suffering through a period of traumatic personal loss. But I believe I have the qualities to be a judge of the Orphans Court. I think my professional and my community involvement have given me those qualities. I would appreciate your vote on November 6th, and I look forward to continuing to serve our community. Thank you.
First question, Mrs. Curtis. Please identify 3 characteristics that are important for a judge and explain how you have them.
3 characteristics of a judge. You need to be able to understand the law, research the law, and be able to apply the law. That is important. Can you all hear me? I'm sorry, I forgot the microphone. You need to be able to research the law, understand it, and apply it. The Orphans Court does not make law. We only apply it to the circumstance and the situation. I have great background in legal research. I have a background as a history major at St. Mary's College. That's all we did was research. So the researching and applying the information. Another facet or another important is you need to be able to hear what's being said. You need to be able to understand and hear it. It's one thing to listen, but you need to be able to hear what is in front of you. And you also need to be honest.
Thank you. Mr. Matt.
Well, you have to be fair, you have to be compassionate, you have to be knowledgeable. Again, when a case comes before you, not necessarily is every case going to be the same. And there is a lot of reading and homework that needs to be done. So you have to be able to read that, understand it, and then adhere what you know to the hearing as the people come before you. The main thing that people are looking for when they come before you is that if there's a will, you're going to follow the letter of the will. Because after all, that's who the property belongs to the decedent, okay? So, as long as you treat people fairly and you understand what's before you, you should not have any problem at all. And you just do what you believe is right based on the facts and proceed from there.
Mrs. Brandon?
Repeat the question, please.
Please identify 3 characteristics that are important for a judge and explain how you have them.
I believe the qualifications for an orphans court judge includes good listening. It includes the ability to form a consensus and the willingness to properly prepare for cases, and of course to keep an open mind. I possess these qualities, I believe, because my combined experience in the community and in my professional life have taught me the quality of being a good listener. Listening to an employee or listening to folks talk about county government, you need to be able to hear them. I've gained experience in how to gain consensus and make impartial decisions. And in all positions, I am proud to say that I have the reputation for doing my homework. As an advocate for people with disabilities, I've enhanced my skills for compassion and empathy. Thank you.
Mr. Babcock?
First off, I think you need a little bit of a working knowledge of what the family laws are that are out there. I've done a lot of research, both in the fire department and the safety office and in the sheriff's department in reference to researching rules, regulations, and laws. And being a judge, you have to apply that on what the people are bringing before you. I mean, they're there because there's some type of dispute. Most of the time, there is a dispute between family members, and you have to go from there. A lot of times, common sense and being compassion. I mean, probably the compassionate part is the biggest thing. I mean, the families that come before us have lost a loved one, and it doesn't make a difference that they have. There's a dispute, and you feel so bad about the families not getting along. I come from a large family. My mom had 13. My mom had 13 kids. My mom had 7 kids. Her mom had 13, and I've got 4. So the families, I can deal with a lot of family issues.
Thank you, sir. We're going to start with Mr. Madden here. Many people do not understand the focus of the orphans court. How would you explain that to the voters?
That's for sure. The biggest question I get from everyone is, what do you really do? And it's understandable, it's not something that everyone does every day, but we oversee wills and estates and guardianship of children. Now, the orphans court name comes back from England hundreds of years ago. And so it confuses people, and everybody says, well, I didn't know there were so many orphans in St. Mary's County. And I try to explain to them that we're overseeing the will, we're overseeing the estate, and if there is a guardianship issue, of course, we have to address that. And the 3 judges have to get along. We have to do what's best for the individuals involved. And like my companions have said here, people are going through a tough time. They've lost a loved one, and they're trying to grieve and get through the process. And the best thing that we can do is look at the will, look at the estate, look if there's a guardianship issue, and do what's best and fair for everybody involved.
Mrs. Randall?
It is an interesting name for the type of judge this is, which in simple terms, the orphans court is Maryland's probate court. The judges supervise the management of estates of people who have died with or without a will, while owning property in their sole name. And the orphans court works closely with the register of wills to determine the best way to continue the case that is brought before them. I think the main thing, as has been said, that's important in being a judge of the Orphans Court is to use good common sense, understand people, be willing to work with them, and be fair-minded and open-minded at all times.
Mr. Babcock?
Judge of the Orphans Court, it is what my colleague said, it's old school. It comes from England back in the colonial days. When the husband was away, the wife could not hold property. Little kids were involved, and they had to put the property and the shares or whatever they had that belonged to the father, they had to put that in custody of somebody else to hold that for the kids. Because the women could not hold anything back in those days, and they had to determine who got what, and they had to make sure the kids didn't lose out on it at the end. Nowadays, it's just straight up, we're probate judges, and that's what we deal with. We deal with estates and disputes and wills, and it needs to be a little bit modernized, but old school's not so bad either. I was asked to go door to door a couple of occasions. I said I'd probably make about 4 or 5 trips trying to explain the same thing. So, I mean, kind of let that off a little bit.
Ms. Curtis?
Question again, please.
How would you explain the focus of the orphan?
When I started this endeavor, this campaign, I was asked, do you want to do the history or do you just want to run? And I went, oh, I don't know if I really want to do the history. But I find the history is where it's really interesting. The Orphans Court, actually the probate court was established by Calvert here in Maryland in 1657. And in 1777 is when it was established by the Maryland Assembly to be a probate court and handle the estates and wills to guarantee that minor children and widows and family members receive the estate legally, honestly, that they were entitled to. So as the judge, we fairly continue to handle the estates in a legal, responsible manner. And the Orphan Court name has stayed through the years.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Randall, do you believe judges for Orphan Court should run for office as nonpartisan?
I believe the role of an Orphans Court judge is nonpartisan, yes. I don't believe there is room for partisanship in the courts. So today we register as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. But as far as the actual work, it needs to be nonpartisan. Thanks.
Mr. Babcock?
I believe it should not be partisan. The 4 years I did on the liquor board, I thought that was nonpartisan. But there was a battle going on in the background, and we were supposed to serve a 4-year term. I served 1 year at a time for 4 years because there was a lot of political stuff going on in the background. But Judge of the Orphans Court, I believe that it should not be partisan whatsoever.
Mrs. Curtis?
I think we all probably agree on this, that when you have families coming in and you need to settle an estate, there is no room to be partisan. You have to be a nonpartisan. You have to solve it based on the facts, listen to what is being said, hear what's being said, and work. So, because this could be a very traumatic time, and politics don't have a place when you're really hurting. So the job itself is bipartisan. You do it bipartisan. Whether we should be elected bipartisan, probably. Probably because we are going to be doing a job where we have to review and deal with it, deal with the situation in a fair, honest manner.
Mr. Madden?
Oh, Lord, I'm getting ready to get myself in trouble here.
That's okay.
There is no room for politics in the courtroom, the judge of the Orphan's Court. We should not have a party affiliation to run. We should run as who we are, same as on the school board. I don't think there's a place for Republicans, Democrats. We're supposed to be elected for who we are, what we stand for, and what we feel is right. And as far as any courtroom that you're in, especially when you're dealing with people that are grieving and you're dealing with people that, the families that are dealing with estates and wills, you have to do what's right, and politics has no place.
This will be the last question before closing remarks. We will start with Mr. Babcock. Do you believe gender balance on the Orphan's Court is important? Why or why not?
I've worked for the past 4 years with 2 other male individuals, and they were level-headed. They used common sense. In reference to gender balance, if you're able to make a qualified decision on what evidence is presented to you, either physically or verbally, and make a appropriate, correct decision, I do not see a reason why it has to be a gender balanced court. I've got 4 years of experience. I've dealt with a lot of people, male, female, and right on down the line, but the judges at the past 4 years are all male, and I understand that's the way the voters put us in there, but I don't see a problem with having a problem with gender balance on Judge of the Orphan's Court.
Thank you. Mrs. Curtis?
Well, I think that we need a woman on the judge, and I should be that woman. You can all vote for me on November 6th because I can do this, and I can make educated decisions based on my background, and I think I would make an excellent judge. So, remember me.
Thank you. Mr. Madden?
I don't think it's necessary, but I will tell you this, I worked with 2 of the finest judges that ever sat on that court, one being Ms. Linda Dean, Judge Dean, who's in the audience, and Mr. Dalton Wood. I'm sorry, Dalton. It's been a long night. And we had a good balance, and we got along fine, but as far as gender balance, I don't think it's necessary. It's about qualifications. It's about personality and being able to do the right thing. And if that's the way it comes down, where there's males and females, like I said, when I worked with Linda and when I worked with Dalton, we got along fine. It was never a problem. But I don't think it has to be mandated or necessary.
Mrs. Randall?
I certainly believe that gender balance is important. And the word balance, I think we need to key in on. Women and men bring different skills, different life experiences, different understanding to the same job. And when folks come before you and they need you to make decisions that are going to affect their lives, they need to see sitting there a representative that looks like them, so that they're comfortable and so that they get the benefit of having both males and females look at the case, and come to consensus. I absolutely think that you need a balance on this court. And I'm happy to be the second woman on it. Or first. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now each candidate give their closing remarks. We'll start with Mrs. Curtis.
Again, I want to thank everybody for staying, and I want to thank the League of Women's Voters and the NAACP that supports the library. As I said before, I was a paralegal specialist for the U.S. Navy. I was a banker where I learned to negotiate and work in very difficult situations, and a court-appointed special advocate where I worked with in the court system with the foster care system. I am familiar with the court system, how it works. I am a daughter who's deceased, so I am an orphan. I am a wife, a mother, and a grandmother, and this is an important job. It seems to be small. I mean, we were down at the bottom of the ballot, but when you are in that courtroom, this is a huge, huge job, and you want to have someone there that's fair and honest. The court does need diversity, and as a woman, I can bring a different perspective to the court in this role as judge. I am honest, I am caring, and I pledge that I will treat all citizens with dignity and respect while professionally interpreting the law. Vote for Curtis on November 6th.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews.
Well, I think it's all been said, but I've got the experience. I've got 4 years on the court system. Like I said, I was in law enforcement for 10 years in and out of the courtrooms. I know with my education that I have the experience and the knowledge to do a good job. I'm a very fair and compassionate person, but at the same time, sometimes you have to make a difficult decision. And I can do that. I can be as diplomatic as you'd like me to be, but I can be firm also, because there are times when you have to be. So there has to be a balance, and I offer you that balance. I want to do this job again. I know that I will do a good job, and I would greatly appreciate your vote on November the 6th for Bill Madigan. Thank you.
Ms. Randall.
Thank you, each and every one, for staying tonight and clearly believing that this job is as important as I do. I want to thank, of course, our hosts for the evening and for their ability to support forums like this and appreciate that it is important. As your judge of the Orphans Court, I commit to you to represent the decedents' instructions in their wills, if there is a will. I will always do my homework on every case. I'll show up prepared the day of court. I will bring compassion to the job and ensure I am impartial and fair. I will bring my professional and community and personal experiences to bear and do the very best job I can. It would be my honor to serve as your judge of the Orphans Court, and I respectfully ask for your vote for Julie Randall on November the 6th. Thank you.
Mr. Babcock.
First, I'd like to thank everybody for staying. It's been a long night. I'd like to thank all our hosts for putting this together. I'm hoping that down the road, on November the 6th, that you remember that I've been the incumbent for the past 4 years and have gained a lot of experience and have done an awful lot of hearings and have dealt with an awful lot of people going through a lot of hard times. And I'm not embarrassed about saying that I get a little bit emotional when I'm in this court. And I will tell these folks that, look, I understand that you're going through a hard time. You know, you've lost a loved one. And it seems like I'm always looking for that hallmark moment where they're going to jump up and hug each other and say, I'm sorry, you know, that I put you through this. You know, but I'm not afraid to tell them that, you know, your mom wouldn't want you fighting like this, you know, over property or a house or a car. And I do take it very seriously, what I do in this position. And I am very compassionate. I try to abide by what's in the law books. Sometimes we kind of work outside the box on sometimes, trying to do the right thing. The past 4 years, I have been a little bit instrumental on trying to modernize the Orphans Court by getting laptops for all the sitting judges. I've got an increase for the administrative budget to support the judges. And so I've been proactive, instrumental in staying with the program. And I've worked well with our staff and the other judges. And we get along great, and I'm hoping that St. Mary's County voters will give me another 4 years to continue on and making more improvements and doing an excellent job in that position. Thank you.